Hi, this is Darren Lyle. Let's take a look at how we can get our character's eyes to go from this to this. All this is just two objects, an inner eye that you can see here, and an outer eye that is clear and reflective. So the texture you can see here with the pupil and the iris is the inner eye, and then this clear, reflective outer eye is what's catching the light here and providing some reflections and hopefully a glint to the character's eye. So let's take a look at how to create that. For the inner eye here, let's first UV map it so we can apply a texture to it. So I'm going to go over to the UV editing screen layout here. So here in edit mode, I want to select everything for the eye. And currently the UV map that it has on it really isn't going to help us place a texture of an eye on here. We need to re-UV map this. So what I usually do is create some seams back here, something like that. And if I press Control E and then mark seam, I can create seams there. So now that I have those edges marked as seams, I'll go ahead and select the whole thing with the A key and then press U and unwrap. And we should get something that looks kind of like this. Now I'm going to press the T key to open up this panel. And if yours isn't looking the same as mine here, you can try changing the method of unwrap from angle based, or yours may be on conformal and it needs to be switched over to angle based. But once we have this UV map laid out for us, what I'd like to do is bring in the texture that we're going to put on the eye here, the texture of the pupil. So what I'm going to do is switch over to my compositing screen layout here. And what this will allow me to do is see the nodes of the texture of my object. Now I need a new material on here. So I'm going to come over to the Materials panel and click on New. And that creates a new material for my object. I'll call this Eye Inner. And you can see here I've got the material output node and my basic diffuse material here. What I need to do is add two more nodes to this. So I'm going to press Shift A and go to Input and Texture Coordinate. And that will give me this texture coordinate node. And then I'll press Shift A again and I'm going to go to Texture and Image Texture. So I'm going to want to map this image texture based on the UVs of the object. And I'll want to bring in a texture for this image texture node. So I'm going to click on Open. And here I've already got a texture created. So I've got this eyes color map. So I'll just open that. But here is my texture. I'm going to go ahead and connect the color socket up to the color of the material here. But let's see how that looks in the UV editing screen layout here. And I'll go ahead and come over here and take a look at that eyes color PNG. So there it is. And there is my UV map. So you can kind of see the problem. The UV map doesn't quite line up with the texture. Now we could take the UV map into Photoshop and align our texture to it. But what I think I'll do is actually use the UV tools here in Blender to kind of adjust the UV map to match the eye. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in here and I'm going to pick one of these points. And I'm going to hit the period on the numpad to zoom in. So I just have that center point selected, and then I'm going to press Control plus to expand the selection out a bit. I'm just hitting Control plus to expand that out, maybe to about here. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to scroll over here, and right here, the proportional editing tool, I'm going to enable it, and then I'm going to press the S key to scale. And if I scroll the mouse wheel, you can see I'm changing the size of the influence of my proportional editing here. And I'm just going to begin expanding this out and making this a little bigger. And you can see the change that's happening over here on the right on the eyeball. So I've expanded that out about as much as I think I can, and I'm going to now press the Control minus key and reduce the selection a bit, and then scale that out some, and then Control minus again a few times and expand that out some. And you can see I'm reducing the size of the pupil overall on the eyeball, and then Control minus a couple more times, and then scale until I get it about the size that I need it. And then I'm going to begin moving it over. Now I'm going to go down a couple more, scale again, and now I'm going to hit the G key and move these over so they're kind of aligned with the image. And right about there. Let's see how that looks. I'll hit the Tab key to go to object mode. Looks a little big. Let me scale that down just a hair. When I say scale that down, I mean scale the UVs up so the image gets a little smaller on the eyeball itself. And then maybe move that to center them up. And we'll see how that looks. There we go. So that looks pretty good for the texture of the inner eye. Let's take a look at the texture of the outer eye. I'm going to go back to my default screen layout here. And now that we've got that texture on there, I can switch to textured viewport shading and see that there. So now let's take a look at the outer eye. And I have that, here it is here in the outliner. And I have that on my layer number 2 here. And you can move things from layer to layer, of course, by just selecting the M key and then hitting 1 or 2 or 3, or clicking here, say moving this to layer 1. Now it's over here on layer 1. So with this selected, let's go back to the compositing screen layout. And let's take a look at the material for this. I currently don't have a material on here, so I'll just click New, and for this I'll call it Eye Outer. Now all we need for this is just a clear reflective material. So I think all I need to do is just change the material from diffuse, which is here, to glass. And there we have it. So now it should be just a transparent glass material. So let's see how that looks. I should be able just to switch to my rendered viewport shading here. And that's not looking too bad. So once again, all that is just a normal diffuse material with the image mapped to it. And then the outer object is just a glass material. And notice I'm using the Cycles render engine as well. So I hope that's been helpful. Please check out my YouTube channel for more Blender videos. Subscribe to get weekly updates, and thanks for watching. See you next time.